Welcome to the darker corners of history. Tonight, we leave the textbooks behind to uncover 4 compelling untold tales. From the miserable, bloody reality of the medieval assassin, to the fierce power of Olympias, the Serpent Queen, the ancient enigma of the Knossos Labyrinth, and the brutal science of siege warfare. If you're ready to dive deep into forgotten history, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing for more. Now, let's begin. Tonight we begin with the grim, dangerous, and utterly unglamorous world of the medieval assassin, those shadowy figures who slinked through the castle halls and dark alleyways to change history with a blade and a whisper. Becoming an assassin was not a career path. It was more like the very last stop on the life went very wrong train. Most medieval assassins weren't mysterious loners trained in mountaintop temples. They were desperate peasants, disgraced soldiers, or former thieves with a good sense of aim. Medieval assassins were not trained by candlelight or with mentors. Their training was simply surviving and not dying. The first few times they tried, poison was trial and error, often leading to error. It was unreliable and might only cause dizziness. The pay was never enough for the risk, and clients often refused to pay the second installment or tried to kill the assassin. The assassin's tools were not a broadsword or wrist blades, but a stolen dagger or a garrote wire, and whatever could be concealed under a threadbare cloak. The targets were important figures, nobles, bishops, fortified with dozens of guards and castle walls, which made the assassination process extremely difficult. The assassin's disguise was not an elegant black uniform, but just peasant rags or a large monk's robe, and the goal was to blend in. Assassins had no guilds or allies. Every contact posed a threat, and isolation was the fundamental rule of survival. Failure meant a public and painful death, and the client was often the first to issue a second contract to kill the failed assassin. Success meant immediate escape, because you had become a burden and a desirable target. Assassins were considered cursed or sorcerers by the public, and this fear could lead to them being hunted down by superstitious mobs. Poisoning was often ineffective due to the unreliability of ancient toxins and the presence of food tasters, including a dog. Assassins had no endgame or retirement plan. Their fate was either death or vanishing into obscurity under an alias. Olympias, Princess of Epirus, was steeped in mystical rites, and she kept sacred serpents in her chambers. Her marriage to Philip II was a collision of prophecy and power, and she aimed to shape the destiny of her son, Alexander the Great. The jealousy and rivalry in the court were intense, especially when Philip married the Macedonian Cleopatra Eurydice, which threatened Alexander's succession. After Philip's assassination, Olympias took brutal revenge, killing Cleopatra Eurydice and her child to secure her son's throne. After Alexander's coronation, Olympias remained in Macedon as a spiritual guardian, constantly stirring up opposition against General Antipater. Following Alexander's death, Olympias returned to lead the army and took revenge on Cassander's loyalists, ordering the execution of the puppet king Philip III and his wife Eurydice. Cassander besieged her in the fortress of Pydna, and she refused to surrender. When she was finally handed over, the Macedonian soldiers did not dare to strike her. In the end, she was executed by foreigners sent by Cassander, and her death marked the end of Alexander's lineage and power. Knossos, the heart of the Minoan civilization on Crete, is believed to be the inspiration for the myth of the Minotaur's Labyrinth. The palace was not just a royal residence, but a complete city spanning 150,000 square feet, containing over 1,000 rooms. The palace was an advanced architectural masterpiece, featuring running water, ventilation systems, and what might have been the first flushable toilets in history. Archaeologists did not find a literal labyrinth, but rather a complex, multi-storied palace designed to be deliberately difficult to navigate. The bull was sacred to the Minoans, and its motifs appear on walls, like the bull leaping frescoes and altars. Legend states that Knossos demanded a tribute from Athens of 7 youths and 7 maidens for the Minotaur, which may reflect ancient Cretan dominance. The archaeologist Arthur Evans discovered the site in 1900 and named the civilization Minoan, after the legendary King Minos. Important religious symbols include the double axe, Labyrinth, and statues of snake goddesses. The Minoan civilization vanished around 1400 BC, possibly due to the eruption of the Thera, Santorini volcano, or a gradual invasion by the Mycenaean Greeks. The battering ram evolved from simple logs into protected wheeled machines used by the Assyrians and Romans to smash down walls. The catapult, the first artillery invented by the Greeks, relying on the torsion power of twisted ropes or hair to launch projectiles hundreds of meters. The Trebuchet, the king of medieval siege engines, relying on the force of gravity and a counterweight to launch 300-pound, 136 kilograms projectiles over castle walls. Siege towers, massive mobile wooden structures used to overcome walls, sometimes reaching up to 100 feet in height. Sapping and tunneling, the art of demolishing walls from below by digging tunnels, propping them with timber, and then burning the props, leading to the collapse of the wall. Hot defenses. Defenders used substances like Greek fire, a napalm-like liquid that burns even on water, boiling water, oil, and even hot sand to burn attackers' psychological warfare, massive siege engines and projectiles carrying messages or disease-ridden corpses aimed to break the city's will before its walls collapsed. The legacy, siege tactics changed with the advent of gunpowder and cannons, but the principles of force, range, and psychological engineering established by ancient engineers still remain. And with that, our journey through the shadows of the ancient and medieval world comes to a close. We've covered desperate assassins, powerful queens, and the brutal physics of siege warfare, proving once again that the true stories of history are often the most fascinating. If this deep dive into the past captured your imagination, please do me a huge favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next chapter of Forgotten History. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, stay curious.